I'm 17 years old and I work at a coffee shop. That's where it all started. I've been a barista for about 6 months, mostly closing shifts, and usually it's just a blur of orders and steam and tips that barely cover gas money. But that one afternoon in May changed everything. It was a Saturday around 4 p.m. and we were slammed. I was on register, my coworker on drinks, and we were both in the zone, no time to look up, just taking orders and yelling out names. Some point my coworker nudges me and goes, "Hey, check out table 3, they need a room." I glanced over and saw this couple all over each other, full on making out, hands everywhere like they were the only people in the universe. Honestly, it was gross. People were staring, I just shrugged and went back to work. But then they shifted and I got a clear look at her face. It was my girlfriend's sister. I'd met her a few times. She's 24, engaged to be married in July, just 2 months away. Her fiance seemed like a decent guy, always polite when I saw him at family dinners. And here she was, making out with some random dude in a coffee shop like she didn't have a wedding to plan. My stomach dropped. I froze for a second, then ducked behind the counter. I didn't want her to see me. I thought maybe if I just stayed hidden, she'd leave and I could pretend I never saw anything. They finished their coffee or whatever and walked out. I let out a breath. My coworker was like, "You okay? You look like you saw a ghost." I said I was fine, grabbed a rag, and went to clean the table. I was wiping it down, thinking maybe I could just bury this whole thing when I heard the door swing open. I looked up. It was her. She'd come back in maybe for the bathroom, maybe she forgot her phone, I don't know, but when she saw me her face went white. She knew I was my girlfriend's boyfriend, she knew I worked there, and she knew I'd seen everything. She came straight at me whispering, "You didn't see anything, tell me you didn't see anything." I said I didn't know what she was talking about. She grabbed my arm and I pulled back. She said, "We need to talk, you can't tell anyone, please." I just shook my head and said I had to get back to work. She left, but before the door closed she turned and said, "We're not done." I spent the rest of my shift in a daze. I kept running through what I should do. If I told my girlfriend, her sister would deny it. If I didn't, I was lying by omission. And her fiance, he deserved to know. But I was a 17-year-old kid. I didn't want to be in the middle of some adult drama. When I got home, I was barely in the door when my phone buzzed. It was my girlfriend. She texted, "What's going on with you and my sister? She's really upset and says you did something." I froze. I typed back, "I don't know what you mean." She said you need to come over and talk. Please, what happened? I told her I couldn't leave. My parents wouldn't let me out that late. She said they'd drive to my house if I snuck out. I said that would be hard. She said, "Please." I didn't know what to do. I was freaking out. I texted her back, "I can't, I'm sorry." She kept messaging, but I put my phone on silent. I sat on my bed, staring at the wall, feeling like I'd walked into a trap. The sister had clearly told her some version of the story, and now I was the bad guy no matter what I said. That night I barely slept. I kept thinking about the way she grabbed my arm, the desperation in her voice. She was about to get married and she was out making out with another guy. And now she was trying to spin it on me. I didn't know what to do. Tell the truth and blow up my girlfriend's family, or keep quiet and let this woman marry a guy who had no idea she was cheating. I decided to keep my mouth shut for now. But the next morning my girlfriend called me. She was crying. She said her sister had told her that I made a pass at her, that I tried to kiss her in the coffee shop when she came back in. I couldn't believe it. I said, "That's not what happened." I saw her kissing some other guy and she's trying to cover it up. My girlfriend went silent. Then she said, "My sister wouldn't lie to me. Why would you say that?" And I realized I was now in a fight I never asked for. I told her the whole truth, what I saw, the making out, the begging, the threat. She said she needed time to process. We hung up. I felt sick. A few hours later, my girlfriend texted me again. She said her sister had admitted she was at the coffee shop but claimed she was just saying goodbye to a friend, that the making out was a misunderstanding. I almost laughed. A misunderstanding? They were all over each other. My phone buzzed again. It was my girlfriend's sister. She'd gotten my number somehow. She wrote, "If you tell anyone, I'll say you've been stalking me. I'll say you tried to assault me. You're just a kid. No one will believe you." My hands were shaking. This was insane. I was just a barista who saw something I wasn't supposed to see. And now I was being threatened. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just sat there, staring at the screen, wondering how my life turned into a soap opera in 24 hours. That was when everything changed. I realized I couldn't just stay silent. If I did, she'd ruin my reputation, maybe worse. I called my girlfriend back and told her everything again, this time with more details, the exact table, what her sister was wearing, the way the guy had his hand on her leg under the table. I told her about the threat. My girlfriend was quiet for a long time, then she said, "I believe you, but I don't know what to do either." For the next week, things were weird. My girlfriend and I barely talked. Her sister kept sending me texts from different numbers, alternating between begging and threatening. I blocked each one. I told my parents something vague about a customer conflict just so they'd know if anyone showed up. I was scared to go to work. Every time the door opened, I flinched. Then about 10 days after I saw them, my girlfriend called me. She was crying hard. She said she'd confronted her sister with what I told her, and her sister finally broke down and admitted everything. Yes, she was seeing another guy. Yes, she'd been doing it for months. Yes, she lied about me making a pass. She begged my girlfriend not to tell their parents or the fiance. My girlfriend said she didn't know what to do. She loved her sister, but this was wrong. I didn't scream. I didn't even feel relieved. I just said, "She's going to marry that guy in 2 months. He deserves to know." My girlfriend said, "If I tell him, my family will never forgive me." I said, and if you don't, you're helping her ruin his life. We argued for an hour. She kept saying her sister had been through a lot, that she was stressed about the wedding. I reminded her that cheating wasn't a stress reaction. Eventually, she said she'd think about it. A few days later, I found out she told the fiance. He called off the wedding. Her sister moved out of their shared apartment. My girlfriend's parents blamed me. They told my girlfriend I was a troublemaker, that I should have kept my mouth shut. My girlfriend and I lasted another month before she broke up with me. She said she couldn't look at me without thinking about the drama. I don't regret it. I'm 17. I've got my whole life ahead of me. But I learned something that year. Some secrets aren't yours to carry, and some people will burn you just for being near the fire. I thought that was the worst thing I'd ever witness in a relationship. Then I found out what my boyfriend was hiding. We met at the mall food court. I was working the register at a sandwich place, and he came through the line every day for a week, ordering the same thing: turkey and Swiss on wheat, no tomatoes. He was cute, funny, always made me laugh. After a week, he asked for my number. I gave it to him. I was 18, he was 19, and everything felt like a movie. For the first few months, it was perfect. He took me on real dates, not just Netflix and chill, but dinner at that Italian place downtown, mini golf, a concert in the park. He texted me good morning every day. He remembered my favorite flower and brought me a single rose for no reason. I thought I'd hit the jackpot, but there was one thing: he never let me meet his mom. His parents were divorced, messy divorce, father got full custody, that's all he would say. He'd tell me, we have a complicated relationship, or I'll tell you about it later. I met his dad, his aunts, his cousins. But every time I brought up his mom, he'd clam up. I figured she was toxic or abusive. I didn't push. 3 months in, I noticed something weird. He never answered his mom's calls or texts around me. If his phone buzzed and it was her, he'd swipe it away fast or step into the bathroom or another room, even if it was just texting. I asked him once and he said she was dramatic and he didn't want to deal with it in front of me. It bugged me, but his boundaries were his boundaries. Fast forward to last week. He spent the night at my place for the first time. We'd both been working late, so we crashed early. Around 3 a.m., I woke up from a bad dream, couldn't fall back asleep. I rolled over to grab my phone from the nightstand, but it was dark and I accidentally picked up his phone instead. The screen lit up when I touched it. I saw a text notification from his mom. It said, "I'm thinking about last night, I want you again." My heart stopped. I thought I was imagining it. I read it again, then I opened the thread. There were hundreds of messages, going back months, before we were even together: nudes, sexting, plans to meet up at hotels. The dates and times matched nights he'd told me he was at his dad's or working late. They'd been having sex for years, since he was 13. And they never stopped, not once during our entire relationship. He never told her he had a girlfriend because he wanted to keep the weekly sessions going. I read for maybe 5 minutes before I threw the phone across the room. I woke him up screaming. He grabbed it, saw what I'd seen, and started crying. Not angry crying, scared crying. He begged me to listen. He said his mother had started it, that she manipulated him, that he didn't know how to stop. He said he loved me and he'd go to therapy. I told him to get out. I sat on my floor until sunrise. I threw up twice. I called my best friend at 6 a.m. and told her everything. She didn't say anything for a long time. Then she said, "You need to leave him, like right now." The thing is, I did love him, or I thought I did, but that love got tangled up with pity and disgust and confusion. He kept texting me, calling me, leaving voicemails saying he'd change. I blocked him. A week later, I found out from a mutual friend that he'd told people I was crazy, that I made up the whole thing. His mother backed him up, of course. They said I was jealous, that I was a liar trying to break up their close bond. Close bond, that's what they called it. I moved out of my apartment, changed my number. I haven't dated anyone since. I don't know if I'll ever look at a turkey and Swiss on wheat the same way again. I thought I'd seen it all after that relationship. Then my own sister decided to date my ex. I'm 25 now, but this whole thing started when I was 4 years old. My dad married my stepsister's mom when I was 4 and she was 3. We grew up together, lived together, shared a bathroom, fought over the remote. We were close, really close. She wasn't just a stepsister, she was my sister. That's why what happened later gutted me so bad. When she was 14, she got cancer. 2 years of chemo, radiation, hospital stays, losing her hair, throwing up in the car on the way to appointments. It was hell. My parents understandably became overprotective of her, but they also became over-demanding of me. I had to quit my high school volleyball team. I threw a tantrum about that, got punished, and eventually accepted it. I got a job so the money could go toward her medical bills. I drove her to appointments because my parents were working. I missed dances, skipped sleepovers, canceled plans with friends. Any fun activity I wanted to do had to include her. I didn't complain much. She was sick, she needed me, she recovered, full remission, graduated high school, started college. I was proud of her. I thought we'd get back to normal sisters, best friends. I went to college, met a guy I'll call Ben when I was a junior. We fell in love, moved in together after graduation, lived together for about 3 years. I thought we were serious. I thought we were going to get married. We talked about it. He said things like, when we have kids and our future house. I believed him. Then July came. I came home early from work, headache, felt gross, decided to take a nap. I walked into my bedroom and saw him fucking my sister on my bed in our apartment. I didn't scream. I stood there for maybe 3 seconds. She saw me first. Her eyes went huge. Ben turned around and went pale. I walked out, went to the living room, sat on the couch. They came out a minute later, both scrambling to put clothes on. My sister was crying. Ben was mumbling apologies. I said, "Get out, both of you, now." Ben left first. My sister stayed at the door and said, I'm so sorry," over and over. I didn't look at her. I just said, "Leave." She left. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. A few weeks later, she called and asked if we could meet up for coffee. I almost said no, but I thought maybe she wanted to apologize properly. Maybe we could start to fix things. She was my sister after all. We'd been through cancer together. I owed her a conversation. We met at a small cafe downtown. She looked nervous. I looked exhausted. I hadn't been sleeping, hadn't been eating much. I ordered a latte. She ordered nothing. She sat across from me fiddling with a napkin and said, "Ben and I are in love." I thought I heard wrong. What? She said, "We've been talking." He called me after that day. We realized we have real feelings for each other. We're together now. I'm telling you as a courtesy before we start posting photos online. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I just stood up, picked up my purse and walked out. She called after me, "Wait, we're not done." I kept walking. I didn't pay my portion of the bill. An hour later, she Venmo'd me asking for the money. $7 for a latte I barely touched. I ignored it. Then my parents called. They wanted me to come over to the house. I thought maybe they were going to help me, support me. I was so wrong. I walked into their living room. My sister was sitting on the couch crying. My stepmom was next to her, patting her hand. My dad was standing by the fireplace with his arms crossed. The moment I sat down, my dad said, "We are very disappointed in you for not supporting your sister's relationship with Ben." I blinked. What? My stepmom said, "She has been through so much. The cancer, the treatments, she deserves happiness. You need to accept that she and Ben are together." I said, "He was my boyfriend. We lived together for 3 years. She fucked him in my bed." My dad snapped, "Don't use that language. She is your sister. She loves him. You need to put aside your jealousy and be there for her." Jealousy? They called it jealousy. I argued. I reminded them of everything I'd done for her, the money, the rides, the missed games, the nights I held her hair back while she puked. My stepmom said, "That was your choice. She doesn't owe you anything." My dad said, "We would like you to come to their wedding." I didn't scream. I just stood up, walked out, and drove home in silence. That was the last time I saw them for a long time. A few days later, my dad called and asked to meet me for dinner, just the two of us. He said he wanted to talk one-on-one. I agreed. I wanted to believe he could see my side. We set a time and place, an Italian restaurant on the north side of town. I got there early. I waited 20 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour. He never showed. I texted him, no reply. I called, no answer. I sat in that booth alone with a basket of bread I didn't touch and realized my dad had stood me up. He never intended to come. He just wanted to get me out of the house so my stepmom and sister could come over and take things from my childhood bedroom. I found out later that's exactly what happened. They took my old jewelry box, some framed photos, a blanket my grandmother knitted. My sister posted a picture of herself wearing my necklace the next day. Caption, "Family heirlooms hit different." I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just blocked all of them on everything. I packed up the rest of my apartment. I moved to a new city. I changed my number. I started therapy. A year passed. I heard through mutual friends that Ben and my sister were having problems. He was drinking. She was crying all the time. They got engaged anyway, but then Ben attempted suicide. He survived. My sister left him. She moved back in with my parents. She started posting sad quotes on Instagram about betrayal and healing. She never apologized to me, not once. My dad sent me a text last month. It said, "Your sister is in a dark place. She needs her family. Can you please reach out?" I typed a reply. "She had my boyfriend. She took my necklace. You stood me up at a restaurant. I don't have a sister. I don't have a family." Then I deleted the message. I didn't send it. I just left the thread on read. I still think about her sometimes. I think about the girl I used to drive to chemo, the one I held in the hospital bathroom while she cried because her hair was falling out in clumps. I loved that girl, but that girl died a long time ago. The person who took my boyfriend and blamed me for being upset, she's a stranger to me now. I don't hate her. I don't love her. I just don't think about her anymore. Therapy helped. Time helped. I have a new job. I made new friends. I started dating again slowly. I don't tell people about my family. They ask and I say, "We're not close," and that's it. That's enough. Sometimes I still dream about that coffee shop, that restaurant, my father's empty chair. But I wake up and I remember that I walked away. I kept walking, and I never looked back. That story still sits with me. But a few years earlier, when I was 17, I got caught up in something that made me realize some secrets aren't meant to stay buried. I worked at a small coffee shop near the mall, the kind with mismatched couches and a drive-through that backed up every morning. It was a decent job for a high school kid. Minimum wage, free drinks, and enough tips to cover gas. I'd been there about 6 months when it happened. It was a Saturday afternoon in May around 2 o'clock. We were slammed. The line was out the door, the espresso machine was screaming, and my coworker, this older guy named Marcus, kept pointing toward the corner booth and saying, "They need to get a room. This is a coffee shop, not a motel." I was too busy steaming milk to look, but eventually I glanced over. And my stomach dropped. It was my girlfriend's sister. She was 24, engaged to a guy named Derek who I'd met a few times at family dinners. He seemed decent, worked construction, always brought flowers for my girlfriend's mom. But right then she was straddling some other guy in the booth, kissing him like they were alone in a bedroom. Her hands were in his hair. His hands were under her shirt. I felt like I was going to throw up. I ducked behind the counter. I told myself I didn't see anything. I wasn't going to get involved. They left about 10 minutes later, still tangled together, and I let out a breath. I thought maybe it was over. I came out from behind the counter to bus some tables. The coast seemed clear. I was wiping down the booth when I heard the door swing open again. She walked back in. I think she forgot her purse, or maybe she needed the bathroom. She saw me. Her face went white. She walked straight up to me and grabbed my arm. "You didn't see anything," she said. Her voice was shaking. "I didn't see anything," I said, but the way she looked at me, she knew I knew. "We are not done," she said. "We need to talk." She left. I stood there with a wet rag in my hand, my heart hammering. I texted my girlfriend, let's call her Sam, and I said, "Hey, your sister was at my work today, just so you know." I didn't say why. I didn't know what to say. 20 minutes later, Sam texted me. "What's going on? My sister is freaking out. She said you saw something. What did you see?" I didn't reply. Then she texted again. "She wants to meet you. I'll come too. Can you sneak out tonight?" I told her my parents wouldn't let me leave. That was true. I had a curfew and my dad was strict, but Sam kept pushing. "We'll pick you up. Sneak out the window, please." I said no. I said it was complicated. She said, "Please." "She's crying. She says you're going to ruin her life." I didn't know what to do. I was 17. I wasn't ready for this. The next day, Sam showed up at my house. My mom let her in. She looked pissed. She sat on my bed and said, "Tell me what you saw." I told her. I said I saw her sister kissing some guy at my coffee shop, not Derek, some other guy. Sam's face went pale. She didn't say anything for a long time. Then she said, "I have to tell Derek." I said, "I don't want to be in the middle of this." She said, "You already are." She called Derek. I don't know what she said, but within an hour her sister was blowing up my phone. Texts, calls, voicemails. "You fucking snake. I'll tell everyone you lied. You're just a jealous little kid." I blocked her. But she showed up at my work the next day crying, begging me to take it back. I said I couldn't. She said, "I'll lose everything, the wedding, my family, everything." I felt bad. But I also felt sick. I told my manager I needed to go home early. I walked out the back door and I saw Derek's truck in the parking lot. He was just sitting there staring at the building. I didn't talk to him. I just walked past. 3 days later, Sam texted me. "Derek called off the wedding. My sister is staying at my parents' house. My mom hates me. My dad said I shouldn't have gotten involved." I said, "I'm sorry." She said, "It's not your fault." But it felt like it was. I was just a kid who saw something I shouldn't have. I stopped going to family gatherings after that. Sam and I broke up a month later, not because of the drama, but because we couldn't look at each other without remembering it. I still think about that coffee shop sometimes. The way she walked back in like she knew I'd be there, the way she begged. I didn't tell anyone for years, but eventually I told my mom. She said, "You did the right thing." I don't know if I believe her, but I know I couldn't have kept it a secret. That was bad, but nothing compares to what happened to me a few years later. I was 18, working at a mall food court when I met this guy. Let's call him Jake. He was 19, tall, always smiling. He worked at the pretzel stand 2 stalls down. We flirted for weeks before he asked me out. I said yes. Our relationship was everything I thought I wanted. He took me to dinner, left notes in my locker, called me every night. He made me feel special. But there was one thing that always bugged me. He would never let me meet his mom. His parents were divorced, messy split. His dad had full custody. He saw his mom every other weekend and 6 weeks in the summer. That was the story, but whenever I brought her up, he'd get weird. "We have a complicated relationship. I'll tell you later." He'd never answer her calls around me. If his phone buzzed and it was her, he'd step into the bathroom or walk outside. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe she was toxic. Maybe he was still hurt from the divorce. 3 months in, I started noticing he'd clear his texts quickly when I was nearby. He'd angle his phone away. I thought maybe he was talking to another girl. But I didn't want to be that jealous girlfriend, so I kept quiet. We'd been together almost a year when he slept over for the first time. My parents were out of town. We had dinner, watched a movie, fell asleep. At 3 in the morning, I woke up from a nightmare. My heart was pounding. I reached for my phone on the nightstand, but in the dark I grabbed his instead. The screen lit up. I saw a notification from his mom. It said, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. I'll wear the black lace." I froze. I thought maybe it was a joke. Maybe I was still dreaming, but I opened the phone. I read the conversation. It was full of nudes, explicit, hardcore. They were sexting. They talked about meeting up at her apartment every Tuesday. They talked about what they did to each other. I scrolled back months. It had been going on since before we started dating. I didn't scream. I put the phone down. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, listening to him breathe. I felt like I was going to be sick. The next morning I confronted him. I said, "I saw your text with your mom." He turned white. He started crying. He told me everything. He said it started when he was 13. His mom would come into his room at night. He said they did it once a week, sometimes more. He said he hated it but also felt like he couldn't stop. He said he never told her about me because he wanted the sessions to continue. I said, "You cheated on me with your mother." He sobbed and said, "I don't know how to stop. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I didn't know what to do. I loved him. Part of me wanted to hug him. Part of me wanted to run. I said, "You need help, real help, and I can't be with you." He begged. He said he'd change. He said he'd go to therapy, but I couldn't look at him the same way. Every time he smiled, I saw those texts. I told my best friend. She said I should report it to someone. I said I didn't want to ruin his life. But eventually I told my mom. She called the police. There was an investigation. I don't know all the details, but I heard his mom was charged with something. He moved in with his dad permanently. He tried to contact me a few times, but I blocked him. The last I heard, he was in therapy. I hope he's okay. But I also hope I never see him again. I don't work at that food court anymore. I can't even walk past a pretzel stand without feeling queasy. Some things you can't unsee and some things you shouldn't have to forgive. I thought I'd seen the worst of it. But life has a way of waiting until you think you're safe, then pulling the rug out from under you again. Let me back up. I'm 25 now. I've got a decent job, a small apartment, and a cat who hates everyone but me. Things are stable. But for a long time, I couldn't even think about family without feeling sick. It started when I was 4 years old when my dad married my stepmom. She had a daughter, my stepsister, who was 3. We grew up together, shared a room, shared a life. I loved her like a real sister. We were inseparable. Then when she was 14, she got cancer. It was brutal. She was sick for 2 years. My parents became hyper-focused on her, which I understood. They asked a lot of me. I quit my volleyball team. I threw a tantrum about that, got punished, and then I just accepted it. I got a job so I could help pay for her medical bills. I drove her to appointments. I missed dances, parties, everything. I told myself it was fine. She was my sister. She needed me. She got better, full recovery. And life slowly moved forward. I went to college, met a guy named Ben. We fell in love, moved in together after graduation. We were serious. I thought we'd get married, buy a house, have kids, the whole picture. For 3 years it was perfect, or so I thought. Then one afternoon in July I came home early from work. I walked into the bedroom and I saw them. Ben and my sister on our bed, my bed. I didn't scream, I just stood there. They both froze. My sister scrambled to cover herself. Ben started babbling apologies. I walked out of the apartment and sat on the steps. I called my mom. She said, "Are you sure you saw what you think you saw?" I said, "Mom, they were naked." She said, "Well, maybe it was a mistake." A mistake? Yeah, Ben moved out that week. My sister apologized, then backed off. I thought she was giving me space. A month later, she called and asked to meet for coffee. Agreed. We sat down and she smiled, not a sad smile, a happy one. She said, "We're in love. Ben and I were going to make it official. We wanted to tell you before we started posting pictures online." I stared at her. I stood up. I left her at the table. I didn't pay for my drink. She Venmoed me later asking for the money. I ignored it. Then my parents called. They wanted me to come over. I thought maybe they'd take my side. Instead, they sat me down and told me how disappointed they were. My stepmom said, "Your sister has been through so much. She almost died. Can't you just be happy for her?" My dad said, "She needs your support. You're being selfish." Selfish? I was the selfish one. My sister called me a few days later. She said, "I know you're hurt, but Ben and I are meant to be. You'll find someone else." I told her she was disgusting. She said, "You're just jealous because I'm the favorite, always have been." And then she laughed. That was the moment I realized I had no family left. I blocked her. I blocked my parents. I changed my number. I moved to a different city. I started therapy. And for a while, I thought that was the end of it. But then Ben called me from a blocked number. He was crying. He said my sister had become controlling, paranoid, jealous. He said she accused him of still loving me. He said she threw things at him. He said she threatened to hurt herself if he left. He said, "I made a huge mistake. I should never have done that to you." I didn't feel sorry for him. I told him, "That's your circus, not mine." He said, "She's not who I thought she was." I said, "Neither were you." I hung up. I heard later that they broke up. My sister posted passive-aggressive Facebook statuses about betrayal and soulmates. My dad sent me a long email about forgiveness. I deleted it without reading. I still think about it sometimes. The way she smiled when she told me she was in love with my ex. The way my parents looked at me like I was the problem. Some nights I wake up dreaming about that bedroom door handle turning. But I'm okay now. I have my cat. I have friends who don't ask me to be a doormat. I have a rule: if you can't support me, you don't get to be in my life. That's the thing about betrayal. It teaches you exactly who you can trust. And sometimes the answer is nobody, but that's better than pretending. But sometimes life throws you a curveball when you least expect it. And that curveball usually comes with a side of coffee and awkward eye contact. I was 17, working at a local coffee shop to save up for a car. It was a busy place, always packed with customers who wanted their lattes exactly one temperature below the surface of the sun. I was behind the counter, making drinks, trying not to spill hot milk on myself. My girlfriend Sam and I had been dating for about 6 months. She was sweet, funny, and her family seemed normal. I'd met her parents a few times and her older sister, who was 24 and engaged to some guy named Mark. The wedding was supposed to be in July. Everyone was excited. Then one Saturday afternoon, my coworker nudged me and nodded toward a corner table. "Check out those two," she said, rolling her eyes. "They need a room. This is a coffee shop." I looked over. There was a couple tangled up on one of the small tables, full on making out, not just a peck, I mean hands in hair, mouths locked, the whole deal. I tried not to stare, but then the woman turned her head for a second. I recognized her immediately. It was Sam's sister. The one who was engaged. She was kissing a guy who was definitely not Mark. My stomach dropped. I ducked behind the counter and pretended to wipe down the espresso machine. I didn't want her to see me. I didn't want to be involved. I kept my head down until they left. Then I came out to clean their table, thinking the coast was clear. But she came back, probably forgot her phone or needed the restroom. She walked in, saw me, and her face went pale. She rushed over and grabbed my arm. "You saw nothing," she hissed. "Tell me you saw nothing." I said, "I didn't see anything," but she knew. She could tell by my face. She let go of my arm and pointed a finger at me. "We're not done." We need to talk, she left. I stood there with a dirty rag in my hand, heart pounding. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. It was Sam. Hey, what's going on with you and my sister? She's really upset. She said you need to come over. I typed back, I don't know what she's talking about. Sam replied, she said you saw something. Please just come over. We'll pick you up if you can sneak out. I texted, my parents won't let me leave at this time. She said, please, she's really freaking out. Just come. I felt trapped. I couldn't tell Sam the truth over text. I couldn't lie anymore. I said I'd try to call later. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the sister's face when she saw me. She looked terrified, and I knew exactly why. The next morning, Sam called me. She was crying. My sister told me you made a pass at her, she said. She said you tried to kiss her at the coffee shop and she pushed you away. Is that true? I almost dropped the phone. What? No. That's a lie. Then why is she so upset? Why did she say you were acting weird? I took a deep breath. Sam, I have to tell you something, but you're not going to like it. I told her everything, the making out. The guy who was Mark, the way she begged me not to say anything. Sam went silent, then she whispered, are you sure? I'm sure I saw her. She started crying again. I don't know what to do, she's my sister. I said, I know, but she's cheating on her fiance. Sam said she'd talk to her sister. I begged her not to mention me, but it was too late. The sister already knew I'd seen her. That night, Sam's sister called me. I didn't pick up. She left a voicemail, her voice shaky. You're ruining my life. You're just a kid. You don't know what you're talking about. If you say anything to Mark, I'll make your life hell. I felt sick. I didn't want to ruin anyone's wedding, but I also didn't want to let an innocent guy marry someone who was cheating on him. I told my parents. They said to stay out of it. My dad said, not your circus, not your monkeys. But I couldn't shake it. A few days later, I sent Mark a Facebook message. I kept it brief. Hey, I don't know you well, but I saw your fiance kissing another guy at my work. I thought you should know. He replied within an hour. Who is this? Prove it? I told him my name, said I was Sam's boyfriend, and described the guy's appearance. He asked for a photo. I didn't have one, but he said he'd talk to her. The next week, everything exploded. Mark confronted the sister. She denied it, then broke down and admitted everything. The engagement was called off. The sister moved out of their shared apartment. She blamed me. She posted passive-aggressive stuff on social media about how I was a liar and a homewrecker. But I knew the truth. Sam and I stayed together, but things were strained. Her parents were furious at me for meddling. Her sister refused to be in the same room as me. Sam tried to mediate, but eventually she started to resent me for causing the drama. We broke up about 2 months later. She said it was too hard to be with someone who had destroyed her family. I told her I didn't destroy it. Her sister did, but she wouldn't listen. I quit the coffee shop soon after. Every time I walked in, I remembered the sister's face, the begging, the voicemail. I still think about Mark sometimes. I hope he found someone who actually loves him. As for me, I learned a hard lesson. Sometimes doing the right thing makes everyone hate you. But I'd rather be hated for telling the truth than liked for hiding it. I never thought I'd end up in a situation that made the coffee shop drama look like a mild inconvenience, but life has a way of topping itself. I was 18, working at a mall food court. I didn't love the job, but the pay was okay and the tips from the lunch rush helped. That's where I met him. Let's call him Jake. He was 19, tall, with this easy smile that made my stomach flip. He came through my line every day for a week, always ordering the same thing, a chicken wrap and a Coke. I started looking forward to his visits. On the 5th day, he asked for my number. I said yes. We hit it off immediately. He took me on dates, brought me flowers, held my hand in the movie theater. He made me feel like I was the only person in the world. We'd text all night, and in the morning he'd send me good morning messages. I thought I'd found my person. After a month, he asked me to be his girlfriend. I said yes. Our relationship was great until it was. The first red flag was his mom. He never let me meet her. His parents were divorced, messy divorce, full custody to his dad. He saw his mom every other weekend and 6 weeks in the summer, but he never talked about her. When I asked, he'd say things like, we have a complicated relationship, or I'll tell you later. I met his dad's girlfriend, his cousins, even his grandmother. But his mom was a ghost. I tried not to push. I figured everyone had family issues. But then I noticed something weird. He would never take her calls or texts around me. If his phone buzzed with her name, he'd either clear it fast or step into another room. I asked once and he said she was just a lot to handle. I let it go. We'd been together almost a year when he spent the night at my place for the first time. I was excited. We ordered pizza, watched a movie, fell asleep tangled up. Around 3 in the morning, I woke up from a bad dream. I was disoriented, heart pounding. I reached for my phone on the nightstand, but in the dark, I grabbed his instead. The screen lit up. It was open to his messages, and there at the top was his mom. I didn't mean to read them, but the first line I saw made my blood run cold. I miss your mouth on me. I scrolled up. And up and up, it was a full conversation, nudes, sex, plans to meet up. Can't wait for our session Thursday. I'll be thinking about what you did last time. It was explicit, graphic, and it went back years. The earliest message I saw was from when he was 13. I sat there in the dark, phone shaking in my hands. I wanted to believe it wasn't real. Maybe it was a sick joke. Maybe someone had hacked his account. But the way the messages were written, the way she called him my boy, the way he responded, it was too specific. I put the phone back. I didn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling until the sun came up. For the next few days, I pretended everything was normal, but I couldn't look at him the same way. I'd see him smile and think about those messages. Finally, I confronted him. I said, I saw your phone. I saw what you and your mom wrote. He went white, his face crumpled. He started crying, really sobbing, and then he told me everything. He said it started when he was 13. His mom would come into his room at night. She told him it was their secret. She said it was how she showed love. He said he hated it at first, but then he got used to it. By the time he was a teenager, they were having sex once a week, sometimes more, and it never stopped. He said he never told her he had a girlfriend because he wanted to keep having their sessions. He said he didn't know how to stop. He said he was ashamed. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just felt hollow. I told him I needed space. He begged me not to leave. He said he loved me. I said I didn't know what love meant anymore. I went home and called my best friend. She didn't know what to say either. I told my parents I broke up with him, but I didn't tell them why. How do you even explain that? For 2 weeks, I didn't speak to him. He texted me every day. I'm sorry. I need help. Please don't tell anyone. I didn't know what to do. I felt trapped. I loved him, or I thought I did. But every time I thought about his mom, I felt sick. Then one night he called me. I answered. He was crying harder than before. He said his mom had been abusing him since he was a child. He said he was a victim. He said he needed me to help him get through it. He said he would go to therapy. He said he'd cut her off. I wanted to believe him, so I did. I took him back. I told him I'd support him if he got help. He promised to go to counseling. He promised to block his mom. He hugged me and said I saved him. For a few weeks, it seemed like things were getting better. He stopped mentioning her. He got a new phone. We went on dates. I convinced myself I was helping him heal. Then I found out he was lying. I was at his apartment using his laptop to check my email. He had left his Facebook Messenger open. I saw a conversation with his mom. They were still talking, still sending photos, still planning meetups. And in the messages, he told her that he had been pretending to be upset so I wouldn't leave. He said he missed her. He said our relationship was just for show. I felt like the ground opened up. I didn't say anything. I closed the laptop. I packed my bag and walked out. He called me later, asked where I was. I said, I saw your messages. You lied to me. You're still with her. He didn't deny it. He just said, it's not what you think. I hung up. I blocked him on everything. I heard through mutual friends that he was telling people I had been crazy and paranoid. He said I made up the story to hurt him. His dad called me once apologizing, saying he didn't know what to believe. I told him the truth. He went quiet. He said he'd look into it. I don't know what happened after that. I still think about it. Not him. I don't miss him anymore. But I think about how easy it was for him to manipulate me, how he used his own trauma to keep me close, how he made me feel like I was the only one who could save him when really he was just using me as a cover. I went to therapy for a while. My therapist said I was a victim too in a different way. She said it's normal to feel guilty for leaving someone who was abused, but I had to save myself first. I'm 21 now. I haven't dated anyone since. I don't trust easy. I check my partner's phone. No, I don't do that. I just listen to my gut. And if something feels wrong, I don't ignore it. Sometimes I wonder if he ever got help. Sometimes I wonder if his mom is still in his life, but I don't look for answers. Some doors are better left closed. I don't tell this story often. It sounds too insane, but it happened. And I survived. That's what I hold on to. I never thought I'd have to choose between my sister and my own sanity. But here we are. Let me back up. I'm 25 now, but this started when I was 4. My dad married my stepsister's mom and she moved in with us when she was 3. She was my sister in every way that mattered. We grew up together, shared a bathroom, fought over the remote, the whole deal. We were close. I mean really close. She was my person. Then she got cancer when she was 14. It was brutal. She was sick for 2 years. Chemo, hospital stays, the works. My parents went into survival mode. They asked me to quit my volleyball team, so I did. I got a job at a local grocery store to help with the medical bills. I drove her to appointments. I skipped school dances. I didn't go on any fun trips unless she could come too. I complained once and my dad grounded me for a month. I learned to shut up and help. I loved her. I would have done anything for her, and she survived. She made a full recovery. I was so relieved we were going to be okay. I went to college, met a guy named Ben when I was a junior. We fell in love. He was smart, funny, kind. After graduation, we moved in together. We talked about marriage, kids, the whole future. I thought we were solid. One day in July, I came home early from work. I opened the front door, heard sounds from the bedroom. I walked in and saw Ben fucking my sister. I didn't scream, I just stood there and they both froze. She scrambled off him, pulled the sheet up. I walked out. I didn't say a word. I drove to my mom's house, my real mom's house. They divorced years ago and I cried for an hour. Ben moved out. My sister apologized, said it was a mistake, said she was sorry. I needed space. I didn't talk to her for a month. Then she called. She asked me to meet her at a restaurant. I went thinking maybe she wanted to apologize again. Maybe we could start to heal. But when I sat down, she said, Ben and I are in love. We're a couple now. I'm telling you as a courtesy before we post on social media. I stood up, walked out, didn't pay my portion of the bill. She Venmo'd me later, asking for the money. I blocked her. My parents found out. They called me to their house. My dad sat me down and said, we're very disappointed in you. Your sister has been through so much. She had cancer. You need to support her in this relationship. I said, she had cancer when she was a teenager. That doesn't give her the right to sleep with my boyfriend. My mom said, he's not your boyfriend anymore. They're happy. Let it go. I looked at them. I said, you're choosing her over me, the daughter who quit volleyball, who worked to pay her medical bills, who drove her to every appointment. You're choosing her. They didn't deny it. I didn't go to their house again. I went no contact with my sister. I blocked her on everything. I told mutual friends I didn't want updates. A year passed. I heard through the grapevine that they got married. My dad went to the wedding, my mom didn't. I stayed home and ordered takeout. I thought that was the end. I'd lost my sister, my boyfriend, and my parents' support in one blow. I was angry, but I was also sad. I wasn't going to chase anyone. Then 2 years after I walked out of that restaurant, I got a message on Facebook from Ben. Can we talk? It's important. I almost ignored it, but something made me reply. I said, fine. In a public place. We met at a coffee shop. He looked older, tired, thinner. He sat down and said, she's been manipulating me since we got together. She told me you were abusive. She said you were jealous of her because she had cancer. She made me cut off all my friends. She controls everything I do. I'm so sorry for what I did to you. I was weak. I was stupid. I just stared at him. I said, you're telling me this now after you married her? He said, we're getting divorced. I caught her with another guy. She was cheating on me the whole time. She's been lying for years. I didn't know what to feel. Part of me wanted to say, I told you so. Part of me just wanted to cry. I said, I'm sorry that happened to you, but I can't be your friend. I can't be your support. He nodded. He said, I know, I just had to tell you the truth. He left. I sat there for 20 minutes stirring my coffee. A few weeks later, my sister called me from a blocked number. I answered by accident. She was screaming, crying, saying Ben had ruined her life, that I had ruined her life, that everyone had abandoned her. I said, you made your bed. I can't help you. I hung up. I called my dad. I said, did you know she cheated on Ben with another man? Did you know she was abusive to him? There was a long pause. He said, we've seen some things. We're trying to help her. I said, she needs help, Dad, but I'm not going to be the one to give it. She ruined my relationship. She tried to destroy my life. He said, you need to forgive her. I said, no, I don't. I didn't talk to my dad for another 6 months after that. Now I'm 27. I'm in a healthy relationship with a man who respects me. My sister is in therapy, I guess. My parents have slowly apologized, or at least tried to. They see me now. They understand that they failed me. Last Christmas, my dad sent me a long email. He said he was sorry for making me feel like I didn't matter. He said he was wrong. I replied, I forgive you, but I need time. My stepsister still sends me birthday cards. I throw them away. I don't know if I'll ever fully heal from that betrayal, but I've learned one thing: blood doesn't give anyone the right to hurt you. You can love someone with all your heart and still walk away when they cross a line. I'm okay now, that's what matters. But not every story ends with closure. Some start with a simple mistake. I'm 17, I work at a coffee shop. It's a busy chain near the mall, nothing fancy. I've been there about 6 months. I'm saving up for a car. My girlfriend Sam is the same age as me and we've been together for 8 months. She's great. We're that annoying couple that texts all day. Her sister is 24, engaged to a guy named Mike. She's always been nice to me, but we're not close. She's in that adult world where I'm just the kid dating her little sister. One May afternoon, the shop is slammed. I'm on register and my coworker nudges me. Check out booth 4, they need to get a room. I look over. Booth 4 is tucked in the corner. There's a couple full-on making out. Like hands and hair, tongue, the whole thing. In a coffee shop at 3 p.m. I squint and my stomach drops. It's Sam's sister. She's kissing some guy I've never seen, not Mike. Definitely not Mike. I freeze. I don't know what to do. I just keep ringing up orders, trying to act normal. They leave after a few minutes. I go to clean the booth, heart pounding, then she walks back in. She forgot her phone. She sees me with the rag in my hand. Her face goes white. She grabs my arm. You didn't see anything, she hisses. I say, I didn't see anything. She knows I'm lying. She says, we're not done. We have to talk. She leaves. 2 minutes later, my phone buzzes. Sam, what's going on with you and my sister? She's freaking out. I text back, I don't know, Sam. She says you saw something. Please come over. I'm grounded. My parents are strict. I can't leave. I tell Sam that. She says, we'll drive to your house. Sneak out. I say, I can't. She says, please. I don't know what to do. I call my best friend. He says, dude, you're in the middle of something nasty. Tell Sam the truth. It's not your secret to keep, but she's your girlfriend. I think about it all night. The next day I call Sam. I say, I saw your sister with another guy at my work, full on making out. She's quiet for a long time, then she says, she told me you were lying, that you tried to hit on her and she rejected you. I almost dropped the phone. That's insane. I'm 17, she's 24, I have a girlfriend. Why would I do that? Sam believes me. She says, I'm going to talk to Mike. I panic. I say, please don't tell him I said anything. I don't want to be in the middle of this. But it's too late. Sam tells Mike. Mike goes ballistic. He confronts the sister. She cries, says I'm a liar, that I'm jealous, that I have a crush on her. Mike doesn't buy it. He talks to my coworker, the one who pointed them out. My coworker confirms the guy wasn't Mike. The wedding is called off. The sister moves out. Sam stops talking to her. My girlfriend and I are okay, but it's awkward for a while. Her parents don't know what to think. A month later, Mike texts me. He says, thank you, I dodged a bullet. Sorry you got dragged into it. I say, no problem. Sam and I broke up a few months later. Not because of this, we just drifted apart, but I learned something. When you see something wrong, you can't hide from it. It'll follow you either way. I still think about that day. The way her face went white when she saw me. The way she tried to flip it on me. Some people will do anything to protect their lie, but the truth always comes out. I'm 19 now. I still work at a coffee shop. I don't date much. But when I see a couple making out in a corner booth, I watch a little closer. Some stories don't have a happy ending. They just have an honest one, and that's enough.